Hiya Squishers, and welcome to today. Yes, it's Monday, and today we're going to talk about the perils of starting any new craft, because from what I've learned from starting an awful lot of new crafts, because I like to start new crafts, they all have the same type of perils, which unfortunately for you will persist long into your crafthood. So the longer you're in it, the more it persists. So you've got to get good at being okay with it from the get-go. Okay, are you ready? It's a bit like golf or fishing. Not the same type of thing. I have been fishing, not been golf, not really a golf fan, but I have been fishing. And when you go fishing, you just go fishing for the enjoyment of being outside. Seriously. And if you can't get on board with just being outside for hours and hours and hours and hours, then, you know, it's just not for you. So crafting. Oh my gosh, there's one more gulp. Crafting. Oh, what a joy. It's something that you just do endlessly, and it's always the same. You're just knitting non-stop, but you're just enjoying the journey of knitting. That's just all it is. Can you enjoy knitting and crafting? Ready? Are we ready? Now, the perils of learning any new craft. Where do you start? Who knows? Like, it really depends on what you're into. But let's just get right down to the beginning. Don't run before you can walk. I know you're probably going to be looking at all the things you want to make, all the stuff you can eventually do. You totally will. Like, just don't overestimate how much you're going to retrieve straight away, and don't also underestimate the amount you can do, because to begin with, it's overwhelming. It really is. Like, where do you start? So if you're starting with a craft project, or especially with a knitting project, and the first thing you're wondering is, what do I do? Stick to the basics, because once you master the basics, in this case, knit and purl, or just knit, if you can just do the knit stitch in knitting, you're off. Like, you can make so many things. So master the basics and stay there as long as you like. I spoke in the last video about how much I enjoy bopping about in the tubes area, which is just a simple knit stitch. And I would so recommend that type of project for you too, because the other way that you can encounter problems when starting a new craft is trying to find out what are the right tools. Now, you will find knitters, crafters, crocheters, drawers, painters, like, I still don't have my favorite pen. I have my favorite sock needle, as only because there's a couple of reasons when choosing sock needles. You will know this if you're a needle buyer. Some of them are super pointy, some of them are not. Some of them are super slippery, some of them are not. And sometimes you actually have to try them out first. There is no magic answer. So if you have a crafty friend who is happy for you to pop round and go, can I try out some of your needles before I invest in my own? Because we all know craft materials can be a little bit pricey, but you can find other ways to source your craft materials. Like, I know when I first started crafting, charity shops, oh my God, it's amazing. It's amazing how much stuff people have to get rid of. And throughout my time of knitting, I have seen and witnessed lots of passing on of craft material after one generation to another. So there's those types of things, and just ask. Quite a lot of people have got an awful lot of needles they don't need. I've recently just given a whole set of my Cubics needles to my mum to try out when she starts using her hands again for knitting, because my mum's not going to go out and buy a pack of them to see if they work, but I'm currently not using them. So I was like, get back into knitting. So don't be bamboozled or bewildered. It's a case of trying it out. And another thing is materials. Like, this is the only material I use for knitting. And with painting and drawing and everything else, I just give it a bash. So you need to be a little bit like, okay, there's sometimes when you start right at the start that your materials might not be terribly exciting. They really might not be. And they might just be whatever you've got. And sometimes that can be the unraveling of an already made up thing that's kind of got a bit damaged, or it's got a hole in. You know, those things can, oh my gosh, you can go wild. And acrylic is amazing if you are starting a new craft in fibre and you're trying to work out, do I want to do this? The colours are fabulous. Hand-dyed yarn, the colours are enormous. You know, there's huge price points, and there's also huge varieties in different materials. You can even craft and knit in rolled up, plied newspaper. For serious, I've seen it. Or you can knit in wire. Sidetrack. So materials, tools, time. I know. Oh, we talk about it so much. I don't complain about it. I try not to complain about it, because we all complain. We all wonder where's it go? Time just goes. On that note, I'm going to sip a coffee. Time goes. Where are you going to find the time to start this brand new craft? Right. Well, there's no answer for everybody, but something that I did when I decided to learn how to knit, which for me happened because I started dyeing yarn. I know, it was the other way around for me. I started dyeing yarn. Then I was like, oh my God, what can I do with that? Like, that could be something else. Like, that's just an ingredient. Remember, yarn is an ingredient. You are the creator. I decided that I was going to commit, even if it was just 10 minutes every day, doesn't matter what time of the day it was, because at that time, oh yeah, I had a 2-year-old and a newborn. I had to really consciously fit in some time to start my new craft. And it's amazing how much 10 minutes every day, or 5 minutes every day, over a couple of months, you'd be surprised, A, how fast you get, B, how you stop worrying about the things you started to in the beginning, and C, you kind of start thinking about the next step. Now, the next step is always a bit strange, because you got to ask yourself, like, what do you want to do? Sometimes, if you don't know what you want to do, the best kind of projects are ones that have no commitment in terms of colour choices, or you just do one square for crochet, just a square, in any yarn, or mitre square blanket for knitting, just a square. Or, for example, I like doing scrappy projects when I'm like, oh my gosh, I need a detox, because I've just finished this project here, which leads me on to another point. So scrappy projects where you just grab a colour and add it, takes some of the load off you choosing, less choices for you. And the other thing that you're going to encounter whilst learning any new skill is the same thing that everybody encounters at any stage of their making all of the time. And it's actually quite a useful thing to encounter. It's called mistakes. Yes, here's a mistake I made. Well, I didn't really I finished my cowl. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Big whoop for me. Finished my cowl. But I realised when I got to the other side, I was like, but why have I got a row less? Oh, right. So I can expect a row less. Yeah. So I actually cast this on the wrong needle size. Mistake number 1. And sometimes I'm a bit of a sloppy knitter. Yeah, I just don't really care about my tension. I'll just knit and sporadically add some rows. So that also affects the overall yardage usage. And remember the yarn bath chat the other day? Blech. That's yarn usage, just so you know. So you don't have to be a beginner to learn things from your mistakes. And learning from your mistakes is hugely important to learning full stop. If you made no mistakes, A, you're kind of boring. And B, you're never having exciting detours. Like, really, sometimes it's okay just being okay. It's not precisely the same either side. Sometimes I've got 12 on one side and 8 on the other, but oh, I finished it. So there you go. The perils of learning a new craft, and why not to be discouraged. Don't get discouraged. There's a lot of reasons why you can, and we'll talk about those another time. But until then, just give it a go and see you later. Bye.